This is Kane recording. Pop!
This is JD recording. Pop!
Joe recording.
It's always so fucking weird.
You're weird.
Can't just say pop or something like whatever.
Only God can judge me.
Whatever. Nothing matters. Welcome to Butcher Block Horror Podcast, where we exhume horror movies from the past and cut into what makes them so delectable. I'm Kane.
I am JD.
And I am Joe.
And today...
Hey, Joe.
How's it going?
It's going.
And today, we're throwing 28 Days Later onto the slab and carving up our favorite portraits to force feed to you, our unwitting victims. If you enjoy the taste of these feasts of fright, then make sure you follow us or leave us a review. If you YouTube, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. We also have a website. We give you brainworms.com. There you can join our Funky Fresh Discord server and directly support the show using our Patreon link.
Wait, how could we have brainworms when none of us have brains?
It's because the zombies ate them.
The rage virus infected zombies?
Yeah.
Yeah, so today we're covering the 28 Days Later, which is not really truly a zombie movie.
It is in everything but details, though. I mean, come on now.
Zombie-esque.
It's not a zombie movie. It is an infected human movie.
I said esque.
Right.
I think you just have a narrow definition of what a zombie is, Kane.
Yeah.
Do I, Joe?
Yeah.
Hordes of mindless, savage, bloodthirsty individuals that are craving flesh.
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to be a zombie purist, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So when I think of zombies, I think of the living dead.
Yeah, they're not undead in 28 Days Later.
Corpses
They're infected.
that have reanimated and are going about the business of eating human flesh.
Yeah.
These are definitely infected.
Yep.
Animals are infected in this film as well. I mean, humans are animals, but other species are also carrying the virus.
Sure.
Exactly. But it definitely reignited the kind of zombie craze.
Yeah, yeah. You can definitely trace the lineage between this and like when The Walking Dead happened and zombies kind of caught on again.
Yep. But yeah, runny zombies owe 28 Days Later for their existence.
Running in the sense that they move fast, not runny in the sense that liquid is coming out of them.
Yeah, they're not like egg whites or...
Yeah, fast zombies.
Yeah. Although liquid does come out of them.
Yeah, mostly just vomit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when left to their own devices, they often just, as they're starving to death, will projectile vomit their own innards.
As one does.
Right. So why don't we go ahead and let's talk about 28 Days Later. JD, why don't you give us some info?
I will most certainly do so. Okay.
Yeah.
28 Days Later was released November 1st in the UK and Ireland in 2002. And it made its way to America June 27th of 2003 with a runtime of 113 minutes and a budget of $8 million. And this movie was quite a smash hit at the box office, grossing $85.7 million.
The big thing is that this is a much newer film
Definitely.
than what we've been covering, even though it was released 20 years ago.
Yeah.
God, I just remembered that time has passed.
You're welcome.
It does what it does,
Yeah.
Joe. Time waits for no one. 28 Days Later was directed by Danny Boyle, British-born, October 20th of 1956. Mostly known for his work as a director and producer, best known for Shallow Grave, Train Spotting, and its sequel, a film called The Beach, Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours, Steve Jobs, Yesterday, And of course, the film we're talking about here now. No other horror much to speak of. Maybe a psychological thriller titled Trance from 2013. That's about that.
Although Train Spotting is horror of a kind.
It's yeah.
It's an upsetting film for sure.
It's not my favorite. The producer of 28 Days Later is Andrew Mcdonald, who is a Scottish film producer born in 1966. Best known for his many collaborations with screenwriter John Hodge and director Danny Boyle.
Nice.
Known for films such as Shallow Grave, Train Spotting, The Beach, and you guessed it, 28 Days Later.
Noticing a trend.
Yep. McDonald has another horror film under his belt titled Annihilation from 2018, and that's sort of sci-fi psychological horror film, and Natalie Portman's in that one.
It's a good movie, Annihilation.
He's also going to be involved with producing a horror drama, a film titled Men, currently in, I believe, post-production, and they wrapped up filming in May of 2021. So we may expect to see that sometime this year, perhaps.
If the world doesn't end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always that. But yeah, some woman goes on vacation after the death of her ex-husband. So what kind of twist and turn could that take? Anyway, so what do we say about on to the plot of 28 Days Later? How about that?
Let's do it.
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay, all aboard. A miserable virus, aka the Rage virus, takes hold of Great Britain after an infected chimp is liberated by a little group of animal rights activists.
If in the future any animal rights activists stumble across this recording and you're thinking, I'm going to go rescue a bunch of chimps from a government facility or a university facility, and when you go in there, there's a doctor who seems batshit crazy and terrified, not mad at you because you're wanting to release them, but terrified at the thought of these chimpanzees being released. Do not let them out.
Yeah.
Euthanize them if you need to. Euthanize the doctor too if that's what you need to do to feel better about it. But do not let them out of the cage.
Anyway, this virus gets its pants off in a hurry, spreading like Omicron, except this virus turns you into an enormous violent douchebag. It's so horrific that society has collapsed in fully. And the story truly begins as a bicycle courier, Jim, awakens 28 days after the initial outbreak, and he just pops his eyes open in a hospital bed, fully naked.
Jim, with those glorious, glorious cheekbones and beautiful eyes, was played by Cillian Murphy.
He's a handsome man.
It's Cillian Murphy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you sure? Because I've always heard it as Cillian.
I've never heard it as Cillian before. I've always heard it as Cillian Murphy.
Hold on.
I'm looking up a pronunciation now.
I am too.
It's a hot debate, but...
Why does this pronunciation video need to be 40 seconds long?
It is Cillian. Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy. Anyway, Jim was in a coma, just sleeping it off at the St. Thomas Hospital in London, which at this point is a deserted wasteland, as is all of London. Signs of catastrophe are evident, and Jim is in shock.
But no bodies.
Yeah, I mean, not at this point.
Right.
We do encounter a hell of a lot of bodies.
But not at the hospital.
Right. Which works for the audience because then you get that kind of slow build up as to like what's really going on.
It all unfolds itself in a crazy, crazy way.
Yeah.
So, Jim's sort of calling through the streets. I mean, there's a few steps in between there. He finds some scrubs.
Zach Braff.
Leaves the hospital.
Drinks a room temperature warm Pepsi.
Any port in a storm, my friend. Yeah. I suppose. So he gets his little, grocery bag full of cans of Faygo and Pepsi and whatever else.
He takes the Pepsi challenge.
He does.
He did. He really took that seriously.
Yeah.
And just when you think things couldn't get any worse, Jim is nearly mauled by a rage zombie.
By a lot of them.
Yeah.
So we discussed this earlier when we were watching the movie. Going into that church, right? They only attack people not infected with the rage virus. If you have the rage virus, like if you were infected with it, Like you'll cuddle up in like a little ball with your friends to keep warm.
Yeah, they were in like a hamster pile.
And it's not that different than how other zombie films handle it. They tend to move in hordes.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that they obviously see kinship with each other.
Sure.
Right? That's what I'm arguing. They have
Right.
kinship, comfortable enough with each other, even though they're filled with rage. Like at one point in the movie, like you hear a rage zombie say, "I hate you."
Right.
But like what I'm saying is that they were all like in a little cuddle puddle.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, they were loving it out, man. Sometimes you got to.
They were taking a nappy poo,
Yeah.
curled up on each other like snakes.
It's hard to feel angry when you're being hugged, you know.
It depends on if you want to be hugged or not, I feel like.
That's true. That's a good point, because sometimes a hug warrants a punch.
Yeah, I generally don't. I don't like being hugged.
You don't like much of anything.
Unless I'm completely comfortable with a person. If I'm completely
Right.
comfortable with the person, then I'm fine with the hug.
Yeah, then you're aggressively huggy.
Yeah. But people I don't know, I'm a hugger. I hope you're a hugger. I'm like, I'm not. Don't fucking touch me.
Yeah, I'm very protective of my personal space most of the time.
Fair enough.
Which almost makes me want to get the rage virus because then I could experience real human contact.
Just a big cuddle puddle.
But only if everyone else has the rage virus as well.
All right, yeah, if that's what it takes.
Yeah, we just all have to get it.
Well, maybe the next mutation of
Rage
the COVID
party?
virus
Yeah, let's have a
Well-
rage party.
and be all rage inducing.
Yeah.
Well, I know one thing. I'm not getting vaccinated. I won't do it.
Yeah, because we've kind of gotten all the awful parts of a zombie apocalypse with none of the cool, exciting parts of a zombie apocalypse.
What would be cool and exciting in a zombie apocalypse?
What is like being a rugged survivalist and having a shotgun and
Drinking warm Pepsi.
drinking warm Pepsi, which is apparently JD's ambition.
In my 20s, right, I had this thought, right, that I would be this rugged survivalist that you're talking about, right? But in the last 20 years, I've come to realize that I would die.
Yeah.
Most people would die. Even the people that think they're going to survive, they're like, I've got this. You don't have this.
Well, I
Sure.
forget what age it is in males. The brain matures to a point, and then things like fear settle in, and things like all different kinds of thoughts and responses to external stimuli set in. And when you're a certain age, like pre-adult, you don't have those things firing in the male brain anyway. It's like we're completely out of our minds, do a ton of stupid shit, stuff that we should be terrified of.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Science.
I'm not even saying, excuse me, give me 1 second.
Oh God, Kane's got the rage virus.
Oh shit, we're gonna have to put him down.
I mean, I'm so far away from you guys, I would infect half this neighborhood before you got it.
Unless you're talking about the film The Abyss, and then you can breathe water.
That's not water.
It was pink juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like this oxygenated liquid that, you just had to breathe it in. You don't
Yeah.
fight it. Don't fight it. Just let it in.
Which I believe was something that science kind of worked on, oxygenated water. And they realized that you can't get enough of it into your lungs to work.
Yeah.
But an alternate delivery mechanism is through the butt.
The anus, I read that.
Yeah.
That would be incredible to
Breathe water.
just have a suppository that helps you resist your urge to inhale,
Yeah.
because you wouldn't need air. Anyway, 28 days later,
That was fun though.
it was a time. But let's get back on board. Selena and Mark.
They're played by Naomi Harris and Noah Huntley.
I really like Naomi Harris. I think she's very
Yeah.
good in everything I've seen her in.
She's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yes, back to Jim. He is thankfully rescued by survivors, Selena and Mark.
I guess we're just saying fuck Noah Huntley, just in case anybody was curious. Just say fuck you, Noah Huntley. You don't matter.
That's an extreme position to take on Noah, but okay.
I don't actually feel that way. He's a very attractive man. That's what I've got for him. But he didn't bring
Well,
anything to me in this movie.
I'm sure Noah's flattered now, so let's continue with the plot of 28 Days Later. Jim, he's fucking had it, and can you really blame him? He just wants to go home, and So the group, they explained to him that only bad shit's going to come of traveling to his parents' place, but he's not hearing them.
He does what he wants.
He really does. And so the group humors him as they trek to Jim's parents' place. Sadly, as expected, Jim's folks, they've checked out of existence by their own accord. And I suppose I'd rather do it myself in place of being eaten by soccer hooligans. That doesn't sound like fun.
For sure.
So later that evening, Mark meets his demise, very sadly.
It's all Jim's fault.
It really is.
Yeah, Jim really walked him into his end.
He lit a candle. The candle did it.
It was a pretty gruesome ending there for Mark.
Because Selena chops him to pieces.
She really did. She had the machete, and it just didn't end well for Mark. He was bitten once, twice shy, baby.
You've just been wanting to keep doing that joke.
When did I do that joke the first time?
Because you're once, twice, 3 times
You
a
did
zombie.
it during the watch party.
Once, twice, 3 times a JD works, too.
Yeah,
You did it last week during a watch party.
I didn't do it last week during the watch party or this week. You're hearing things. I think you got the rage virus. I'm pretty sure.
All right, I'm going to go kill a whole bunch of people.
You're just looking for an excuse.
Oh, my. All right, we have that recorded. Authorities, if you're listening, which you're not, because no one's listening. Anyway, realizing his fate, Mark begs for Selena to kill him in a way.
That's
but
not what happens.
Well,
That is definitively not what happens.
he begged with his eyes.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He was like, "Don't, I'm fine. I just got cut with some glass." And then she started chopping him up. At no point was he like, "Selena, please, end me."
She had to prove a point to Jim. This happened because of you, Jim. This is your fault.
Take
It's true.
responsibility.
I hacked him up with a big knife, but this is on you.
Because they even have a conversation later where he's like, "Did you know that he was infected?" And she was like, "No, but his eyes said he was infected." What does that even mean? His eyes weren't red.
His mouth said no, but his eyes said yes, I guess.
Anyway, so Mark gets chopped up into pieces.
Yeah, he gets finished up hardcore.
There were definitely defensive wounds.
Yeah.
And he was on his way to being turned into a bloodthirsty prick, to be fair.
Allegedly.
I think the audience is meant to wonder if he was actually infected or not.
Yeah.
So, Jim and Selena are now out and about. They head to Balfram Tower,
Yeah, they see some Christmas lights on a balcony.
and that is where we make the acquaintance of Cabbie Frank,
Played by Brendan Gleeson.
good old Frank. He's been in a lot of cool stuff,
He has.
and his daughter Hannah.
Played by Megan Burns.
And at this time, the group, here's a military broadcast offering shelter at a kind of like a blockade base in Manchester. And time's a ticking and supplies are running low, so the group agrees upon heading over.
The efficiency with which JD is telling you folks about this movie ignores the fact that there's like this whole scene where Frank takes Jim onto the roof and says, "It hasn't rained in 10 days. We have no water." And it's basically like showing him all of the reasons why they're no longer safe in that apartment building.
Right. They're getting desperate.
Yeah, there's this kind of emotional conversation between Jim and Selena where she's like, "Hey, they need us more than we need them." And that comes back full circle when they hear this broadcast. And Frank is like, "Yes, look, I agree with you. We need you." He's talking about himself and his daughter. "We need you more than you need us. But we need to stick together,
Sure.
And there's like this whole emotional thing that's built on them leaving.
Right.
And we start to see Selena softening a little bit. And
I
again,
can
this
count
is-
on you.
Again, this is like the central theme of the movie is sort of reliance on other people.
And also, what giant dick bags other people can be.
Yeah.
there is that too.
It's a push and a pull. So yeah, they end up jumping into the Frankmobile.
Which is a Volkswagen Beetle.
Road trip.
Road trip. Yet another curveball is encountered when the group finds that the base is deserted, or at least seemingly deserted.
I want some dessert.
Oh yeah, key lime pie perhaps?
Oh, I love key lime pie.
Me too.
You know what sounds really good? I'd really like some deep fried Twinkie
That sounds good, I guess.
or some devil's food cake.
Yeah.
Those are the two things I'm hankering for.
There are stores.
German chocolate cake sounds all right.
Yeah.
Just walk out into your neighborhood abandoned gas station and just go grab whatever you want because civilization has collapsed.
The apocalypse hasn't happened yet. It's starting, but it hasn't happened yet. So just so
It's
you guys
collapsed
know,
enough for you to get a
in case
Twinkie
this
to
ever
deep fry.
comes up, right, and the opportunity to make good on this ever comes up, my favorite dessert ever is Boston cream pie.
noted.
Good to know.
Just so you know. All right, I'm just putting that out there. My favorite dessert ever, Boston cream pie.
So yeah, much like everything else, this base appears abandoned. And the group plots their next move when Frank takes a little droplet of infected blood to the eye. He was having a conversation with a big magpie and some blood dripped into his eyeball.
When this scene happened, especially because I saw this for the first time in theaters, when this scene happened, I was gutted.
Oh, yeah.
Because I absolutely adored Frank. I thought Frank was the coolest ever. And you could see he kept trying to be
He's like the dad that I had always wanted.
But he's not just the dad, right? He's not just the dad. He's the one that keeps people going forward, right? Like
Right.
he's
Yeah.
like no, we have to have hope. He's like constantly pushing that, right? And then they find this place abandoned and he just gets angry. And he's like shouting at people and he's just upset. And so he goes to go cool off by himself.
Yeah.
And when he sees this bird eating a corpse, it offends him so much that he tells it to fuck off, basically. It's like, get off of that corpse. You're done. Get out of here. And then he kicks the wall that the corpse is kind of laying on above him. And when that happens, a droplet of blood lands in his eye.
Right.
And I would like to state that the first thing on his mind, because he knows, like as soon as it lands in his eye,
He's fucked.
he starts to feel it. He knows he's fucked. He tells his daughter he loves her and apologizes for shouting. Like that's...
And then he's like, get the fuck away from me.
Yep.
So yeah, an additional twist of fate unfolds, sadly. And we lose Frank. He begins his freak out. Suddenly, a few soldiers show up and blast his ass. The rest of the group is brought to a fortified mansion under the intense command of Major Henry West.
Which is amazing that they had a lot of kind of unknowns. And then they pulled in Christopher Eccleston, and he is not an unknown. And he wasn't an unknown then. Like, he's a very well-known character actor.
Yeah. So we had a lot of I recognize that actor from kind of actors.
It's funny, Brendan Gleeson, this was my first exposure to him. But then I started noticing him like everywhere because he's that good.
Cillian Murphy's kind of like that.
Exactly,
He's that guy from that thing.
Scarecrow, Peaky Blinders,
Yeah.
all kinds of good shit.
Yeah.
Love that dude.
Yeah, he was in that weird Red Eye. He was in that movie, psychological thriller.
Well, now I gotta watch it.
He did some things.
So yeah,
Right.
we're already
I don't
up
actually
against
like movies.
a rage virus. Yeah, I like movies too. So we're up against a rage virus. We're up against fuckers who are infected with it and are tweaking out. And now we have this extra evil subplot which unfolds some major dickbaggery.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out the broadcast was a farce, a cunning ruse to attract surviving females into sexual servitude, in an ill-fated attempt to repopulate the world. That's whatever grossness by these dudes who are thinking that, the Major promised his soldiers females.
Emails.
And so that's why they've all sort of agreed to do his bidding, his evil bidding.
And a thing that always bothered me about that is you have to have genetic diversity, right? So even if they had talked to Selena and Hannah and they're like, hey, we want to repopulate. What do you guys think? And they were like, yeah, that's great. That's not going to work.
No, not so much.
I don't feel like that was their end. They wanted to satisfy a physical urge.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was.
They were being different about it. It was not an attempt to fix anything. It was just these guys were trying to bone. So yeah, Jim is not the complicit type. He's not on board with this brand of bullshit. Jim evades being killed by the soldiers and escapes. Jim then turns into a seasoned hunting fucking killer. It kind of reminded me of like Bruce Willis in a Die Hard movie. It was like
It did.
Or Arnie in Predator. It was just like
JD, like, and even when we were watching the movie, you seem to kind of feel like this was a weird pivot in the movie.
well, just that he became such a proficient hunter
Stealth killer.
almost. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like this guy just woke up like a few days ago with a bitchin' head wound. Like you could see this. I don't know.
I mean, I get it, but like a whole chunk of the first act is spent with Jim being taught, like, you need to do what you have to do to survive.
That's true.
And I think that the climax was kind of the culmination of that.
I think
love
when the switch gets flipped, it's beyond a level that I expected.
Sure.
I think for me, it's like when that switch gets flipped, I am able to transport myself, like, because I know for some people that would disconnect them from the movie. But when that happens, like, I'm able to transport myself, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm living through Jim as he's going through and killing these soldiers. And it's not all just him sneaking up and murdering people.
Right.
He also does some crafty shit, like when he sets the siren going to lure a couple of them out there, and then swoops in and hacks that guy in the face.
It's a whirlwind of tactics. It's like strategy. This motherfucker's out there playing chess with these guys, and he's just straight up owning them one at a time.
And then he releases Corporal Mailer, who's played by Marvin Campbell.
I'm going to get to all of that, yeah. So he lures Major West away from the mansion and unleashes the infected zombie guy, Mailer, and this results in the deaths of a number of West's cronies. And then Jim pretty much whoops Mitchell's... Wait, is it Mitchell?
Corporal Mitchell?
Yeah, that's right. There's so many military dudes.
Yeah. There was a lot of privates. There's Private Bell, Private Bedford, Private Clifton. They were played by Luke Malby, Junior Lanyon, and Ray Pathaki. And then Private Davis was played by Ron J. Rambroth.
Okay.
One of the guys was actually not into what they were planning to do. The sergeant, actually, Sergeant Farrell, was not down with it. He pulls his gun on him. It's like, you can't do this. You have to let them leave. Like, he does all that. And that was played by Stuart McQuarrie. And he goes with Jim. Like, he gets dragged out with Jim to get murdered because he wouldn't go along with their plan.
Exactly. Anywho, Jim's just a fucking death machine now.
He actually is.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. He's like Chuck Norris in, like, any of the films he was in. But even probably cooler because he's Cillian Murphy.
And because he was a bicycle courier before all of this happened.
Yeah, just a bicycle dude, you know? One little pant leg rolled up or whatever they do. And
I would roll a pant leg up. You don't want to get your pant caught in your gears, man.
Right, yeah.
That'll flip you off your bike, get something broken.
like your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, okay, so he unleashes Mailer. Mailer does a number on these guys. And then Jim whoops Mitchell's ass brutally.
Did I say that was played by Ricci Harnett?
You didn't mention Ricci.
Okay, yeah. Corporal Mitchell was played by Ricci Harnett.
So he gouges his thumbs into dude's fucking eyeballs. It was an exquisite scene of horror.
Yes, it was.
I have to say.
Oh, I loved it. That entire scene. I'm just like, yes, fucking sticky. And the guy's screaming. It's just
breathtaking
this,
gore. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just this long scream.
And the sounds in between it where you could just, it sounded like somebody had, was like stirring some oatmeal or something.
It goes on a little longer than it needs to.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. It lets you savor it, I feel like. Because that guy was a real bastard.
Yeah, he had it coming. He needed it.
Yeah, the way he got his in the end was just chef's kiss, you know?
That was top shelf. I appreciated it. So Jim, Selena, and Hannah, they attempt to escape in the Frankmobile, but somehow bitch-ass Major West was creeping hard.
I like that we're calling
seat.
it the Frankmobile.
It is the Frankmobile.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
And it was an adorable cab.
Yo, it really was. I mean, I would drive the shit out of that.
Yep.
But anyway, he ends up busting a cap in Jim's sweet Irish ass.
Sweet ass.
And when you say it like that, I don't know if I like it.
You don't like Cillian Murphy's backside?
I mean, I do. I very much do, but it's just when you say it like that, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel weird about it.
Sorry if I made you uncomfortable, Joe. I'm just kidding. Anyway, Jim isn't the only G on the block. Selena retaliates by throwing the Frankmobile into reverse.
Selena
Cleverly...
doesn't. It's Hannah.
Oh, Hannah, sorry.
Yeah.
Scratch that, reverse it. It's Hannah. She must have been paying attention in physics class, and she uses inertia to throw Major Dickbag out the rear window.
Inertia is a property of matter.
Or she backs the car up and Private Mailer in his super zombified, infected strength form breaks the glass and pulls Major Henry West out of the back of the car.
He gets him.
Gets him. He gets him good.
Which is also badass.
Yes. Also
Yeah.
good. Yeah, because then Hannah just drives away. Like, what is that the kids used to do in the early 2000s where they would put sunglasses in a joint in something's mouth? Nobody remembers that?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
You should have put it in my mouth. I would have appreciated some sunglasses and a joint.
Anytime
back then.
videos where somebody like did a mic drop or something along those lines or did something very awesome,
Yeah.
generally the video would stop and sunglasses and a joint would be in the person's mouth, and then like Thug Life would appear. Never mind. You know what?
What
Never-
the
Nice.
fuck are you talking about?
No, we're a tangential podcast. It's fine, Joe.
No, I mean, that's fine, but I just don't have any context for what Kane is referencing.
Are you still all hot and bothered over Cillian Murphy's buttocks?
I mean, yeah. God, I just want to kiss him.
It would be like a shot of Bailey's Irish whiskey, probably.
Oh, but he's gentle.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. We're never going to find
He
out.
seems like a gentle lover to me.
Who would
He
be a
could be.
gentle lover?
He's talking about Mr. Murphy. Anyway, fast forward another 28 days, and Jim is now recovering from his new hole.
Real quick, just so you guys know what I'm talking about, because I feel like if this episode goes on and you guys don't get a chance to see this, so you know what I'm talking about, never mind. The video's unavailable. Everything's stupid.
What's going on?
It was Thug Life, right? It was Thug Life is the thing. It was Thug Life.
Don't make me hate you tonight, okay? Why don't you slow down over there?
I'm not sure what's happening.
I'm very lost.
It won't work embedded.
I'm in the
all right?
middle of a plot, and
So-
you're talking about thug life and marijuana
just-
cigarettes and sunglasses.
Kissing Cillian Murphy,
Yeah.
which is what I want to do.
Doing body shots of Bailey's off of...
Off of Cillian Murphy? In.
I'm just saying,
How would you guys feel if I finished the plot of this film?
just finish the goddamn plot. I'm
Is that
sorry.
all right? That's okay?
Is it okay if I think about kissing Cillian Murphy?
I would prefer if you did, but as long
Okay.
as I get to read my notes and reach a conclusion for our listeners
All right.
Yeah,
continue.
go ahead.
who
Go
have
ahead.
acquired this podcast free of charge. All right.
Yeah.
So Jim's recovering, like I said, from his new hole. Compliments of Major West. Anyway, the three of them are now living out their days in a quaint little cottage in Cumbria as all the infected folks starve to death. Doesn't that sound nice?
It does.
The sound of an aircraft really motivates them to get the fuck outside. Maybe they shit their pants, I'm speculating. Anyway, they run outside and unfurl an enormous cloth banner that spells out, "Hello."
Is it me you're looking for?
It's in all caps, so they're really just shouting at the aircraft rudely. So then the pilot maybe spots them and does a maneuver of sorts, and they rejoice. That's one ending. There's a few alternate endings, 3 in fact, and they all conclude with Jim catching the big ticket.
Pushing up daisies.
Yeah, he caught the big ticket. And then one of them was not filmed, but it remains in a storyboard form.
Which was real convoluted.
Yeah,
It was very high concept.
yeah, the whole blood
Like-
transfusion.
Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
drain all of Cillian's blood and drain all of Frank's infected blood.
So Hannah could have her father back.
Yeah,
Even the directors kind of realized like that it was,
stupid.
yeah.
How are you going to get all of the blood from the capula? He went on a huge rant
Yeah.
about it, actually. Like, I'm glad they didn't try to do that.
Yeah, like every cell is out of the body and replaced with some fresh, uninfected blood. feels unlikely. The US cinematic release actually contained one alternate ending to follow the film's credits. And I'm assuming that's the one where poor Jim doesn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
That bullet takes him out.
So yeah, and real quick, 28 Days Later collected some awards. It's a really good film if you haven't seen it. I recommend it highly.
Yeah.
But it received Best Horror Film of 2003 from the U.S. Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. Just a little side note there.
Cool.
Well, the score in this movie was pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the score was great.
Yeah, it did work.
Like I said, I think it was decent. It didn't have that's not the kind of movie it was. It wasn't supposed to be a Richard Band score type of movie.
Sure.
Well, it was a melodic film, really. It was very downtrodden and weary, and the score complemented a lot of the deep, helpless, hopeless feeling one might have in that situation. But I also feel like a lot of eerie sounds could have done that as well, and maybe could have helped bring you there. Even blank or plain scenes could have been augmented by having just some really, I don't know, creepy sound effects, perhaps.
I genuinely love the score to this movie. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I felt it was strong. And
before we move on to special effects, Joe, why don't you tell us about the cinematographer and then the writer?
No.
Fucking do it.
Pretty pleased with whatever you like on top.
Cillian Murphy, please.
All right, we'll sprinkle some of that on top, and you go ahead and make us smarter.
Yep, this movie was written by Alex Garland, who is primarily a video game writer.
Way to do it, Alex.
Yeah. He hasn't done a ton of horror. He did write Annihilation, and he wrote Dread from 2012, the Judge Dredd remake. Not a horror writer.
Right.
The cinematography was done by Anthony Dodd Mantle, also British, known for Trainspotting 2, 28 Days Later, and Slumdog Millionaire. The closest thing that he's done to horror is Lars Van Trier's Antichrist, which is not a horror movie in the strictest sense, but it's a very upsetting movie and has a lot of genital mishaps. Don't watch it. And that's really it. I do want to add that this movie was filmed with handheld Canon DV cameras, which specifically the intent was to make the movie look sort of ugly.
Shaky.
Yeah.
It was also because they had to close down sections of London and they needed to get in and out in a very, very fast time.
Oh, sure.
So they would use those cameras because they weren't as bulky and they didn't require the type of
You didn't have to
equipment
set up
needed.
tripods. And
Yeah. So they did that so they could get in, get the shot, and get out so that they didn't have to disrupt traffic for too long.
Right.
Mobility.
Yeah. And that's also why the movie had kind of that fast-paced, sort of jerky energy to it, because it was just cameramen running around with these big handheld cameras.
And it was effective. I feel like it worked.
And that's all I have to say about that.
All right. JD, let us know about the special effects.
I'm gonna. As far as special effects goes, there is a lot of people involved with this movie. 52 artists in the art department alone. And I'm just going to kind of break it down and snatch out some people that I'm familiar with who were leading the process. So the first person being Richard Conway. And so he was involved with both 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. He's a heavy hitter in his craft, best known for his work on films starting in 1985 with Brazil, very excellent movie. And then Little Shop of Horrors in 1986. Nice. He did Conan the Barbarian, Indiana Jones, and the Temple of Doom.
Conan the Barbarian had some brutal kills in it. So, yeah.
And he also had contributed a bit to Labyrinth, which has a lot of pretty excellent puppets and some stuff to look at. Very artful film in that respect. Then we have Sam Conway, who's Richard's son, known for his work on Game of Thrones and Alien vs. Predator of 2004. Well, before that, he also worked on a film called The Gathering, 2002, which is a horror movie, and also 28 Weeks Later in 2007. Then we have Cliff Wallace, who was the special effects makeup designer, whose career began in the 80s with horror classics like The Unholy of 1988, and also Waxwork, also came out in 1988, and White of the Eye in 87. So apologies, everything was all out of chronological order there, but that's the way I wrote it down.
That's fine.
No,
Yeah,
that's
anything
nice.
else on special effects?
Yeah, I just I grabbed those 3 names out of thin air because they were just names that I recognized from researching a lot of horror films.
That makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and talk about our personal experience with the film. Joe, start us off.
Yeah, I saw this movie. I didn't see it in theaters, but I saw it not too long after it came out on home video. And I genuinely love this movie. I think it's a great, great movie. I feel like the jerky kind of documentary style camera work, it feels very 2000s. And I don't know if it holds up as well now as it did then. It kind of made me a little bit motion sick. But no, I think that 28 Days Later is a great movie. 28 Weeks Later is also very good.
It was fun.
Yeah. And there was also a comic book spin-off. I think they wanted to make it like a big franchise, and it maybe didn't have the legs for that. I wonder if they were ever going to make it 28 months later.
What about 28 years later? Do you think they'll do that in like 8 years?
Maybe. I don't know.
I did read something about it 28 months later. I didn't dive too far into it, but I think there was some intent.
Okay. If they had made it, I'd have watched it. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to say about it. I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of like, you know, the deeper meaning of it. Like there's some fun conversations you could have there. And yeah, I think that anybody who likes horror movies, it's a little bit artier than some of the other movies we've watched, but I think that that's to its benefit. And I recommend it.
All right. How would you rate the rage infected on the zombie scale? We're going to have them be zombies.
Mm-hmm. Which I think they are in everything but on death.
1 to 5 and scariness.
I would give them a solid 4 out of 5, only docking them a point because they don't have
Nothing's hanging out of them. Their stuffing is still in there.
some of the cool prosthetic work that you would see with a proper undead zombie. But their creepy glazed over bloodshot eyes are quite cool.
And those contact lenses must have been a pain in the balls to wear.
Oh yeah, I bet they sucked. So yeah, I would say yeah, solid 4 out of 5 zombies in 28 Days Later.
All right, JD, personal experience with the film. Go.
I did see 28 Days Later in the theater. I also seen 28 Weeks in the theater. And yeah, this is one of my favorite zombie-esque franchise type of coupling of movies. I do feel a type of way about not having an undead zombie, and I lobbied to include this film in this season because I feel like it shows a range of possibilities for zombies, and I like that. I think it's really awesome. Like so far, you know, with every episode we've had pretty much a different reason or you know, just a creative new way to have something like a zombie appear. I just remember seeing this movie and thinking, like, holy fucking shit, this is the first time I've ever seen a zombie move like that. What they lack in body horror, they make up for in ferocity. They're probably the most ferocious zombies.
Yeah, most aggressive.
Because they move so fast.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like they just smoked bath salts or something, and it's like those horror stories you hear about somebody just doing some crazy drug, and then it takes a bunch of people to like subdue them. But this is even more freakish, and yeah, I don't know. I'm almost at a loss here because it's not the typical zombie movie, but I love it.
All right, how would you rate the Infected from 28 Days Later?
Well, as I'd stated, as far as scariness goes, shitty aggression could be intimidating, but that's really all these fools got going for them. They don't really look physically intimidating or scary other than they're just, you know, and freaking out and telling you they hate you, but they hate everyone, so, you know, oh well.
They're like if Kane was zombies.
Yeah, that would be a bad zombie. Kane infected with rage virus would be...
Oh, God. It's terrifying.
Yeah, pretty rough. I might leave the room. Anyway, they get a lower rating for me because I'm all about the gore and the prosthetic effects. I give them a 2.
Sure.
Show me some guts. Show me something, hanging out. Overall, the movie, though, it did have its very gory moments, lots of bites and slashes and eye gouging and all that stuff. So overall, I mean, I give this, the movie, I know you didn't ask me this question, but I'm giving this movie a 5. For me, it's a 5-star zombie movie. It's just the actual zombies, they leave a little too much to my imagination as to what their insides look like. That's all.
I get that, yeah.
So yeah, Kane, how about what's your I'm trying to use words, but it's not working out.
I got what you're saying. My personal experience with the film.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I saw it in theaters. I thought it was a lot of fun. There was an intense debate amongst my group of friends over whether they were zombies. And we settled on the fact that they were not zombies. They were infected, but they acted enough like zombies that they really, 28 days later, gave birth to the kind of new zombie rush that happened from that point on. Zombies became even more popular and used in everything. Like, there was almost the point where I was like, am I going to get sick of zombies?
Like car commercials.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Next thing you're buying a Honda Civic because you're being chased by zombies.
Exactly. Yeah. But I've always loved the film. I like the way that the story progresses. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that when we meet Jim, he's bare-ass naked laying on a hospital bed. And my first thought is like, oh, this guy's so screwed. Like, you are in a bad way, Jim.
He's a little vulnerable.
And then through the course of the film grows. And then, when he meets up with those soldiers, I personally connect with him. When I'm watching that scene, like, it was silent. Like, we really didn't talk at all during that part of the movie during the watch party.
Yeah.
We just laughed, or at least I just laughed whenever he did like an amazing kill on one of the army guys, or something he constructed did an amazing kill on one of the army guys. So I just really enjoyed that. I like the fact that the end of the movie that I saw, Jim survived and the plane comes over and they say hello and all that. I'm like, all right, cool. Those 3 deserve to survive. They were awesome characters. And I always have fun watching this movie. As far as like what I would rate them, I would rate the infected in this movie as a 3 on the zombie scale.
Sure.
Because they don't get tired, very similarly to zombies. If they're chasing you, they just keep chasing you. But then on top of that, like, the eyes were really unsettling to me.
Oh yeah.
Because their eyes were just filled with blood, and that's how you knew that a person was infected with the rage virus.
Again, those contact lenses were like, whoa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the scene where Cillian goes into the church for the first time, at the beginning of the movie, when he says hello and those 2 stand up and turn, that was so animalistic that it startled me. Like, when I first saw it in theaters. Like,
yeah, that's a great way of putting it, because it really did. It was like you're watching like a National Geographic documentary of like animals in the, like, beasts in the wild, reacting to each other. It was like some predator found its prey and is now in pursuit. Yeah,
like the one has its mouth just hanging open, staring at Jim, and I'm just like, oh my God, that's intense. But yeah, so overall, I love the movies. I think that the zombies, I would give them a 3. I think they are scary. The idea of being chased down by those guys is definitely horrifying. The eyes are really what does it. Like, they would be a 2 because I am in JD's camp. I like guts hanging out. I like the ooze zombie from Return to the Living Dead. Like, I like those kind of things. But the way that, and then the vomiting, like, all of those things combined make them scary enough for me that I would give them a 3.
Sure.
Yeah, it was fun to watch them kind of turn inside out, because that's felt like what was happening. They were really losing a lot of blood.
All right. Does anybody have anything else to say?
I want to say real quickly that I loved when Jim blasted the priest with that plastic bag filled with soda cans.
And then apologized.
And then he's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good scene. All right.
That's all I got. Yeah.
If you watched 28 Days Later, let us know what you think. You can find us wherever you consume podcasts.
And if you haven't watched it, watch it.
If you YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. And click the bell since Joe's obviously not paying any fucking attention today.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, do
Yeah.
click the bell.
Or smash your genitals against it.
Yeah. Lightly caress the bell with the tip of your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It's your computer screen. Don't do that. Next week, we are watching Reanimator. And that's pretty exciting.
Yes.
Awesome to see Jeffrey Combs do his thing.
He's going to be combing.
Jeffrey. I don't know. I was going
All
to do
right,
some kind of
JD.
cold joke, but I lost
Yeah,
interest.
yeah. JD, go ahead. Sign us off here.
Au revoir.
Bye, everybody.
That made me feel like Dracula. Well, I know one thing. I'm not getting vaccinated. It's a thing. Science.